It is a jam-packed slate in the NHL on Tuesday. Myself, Andrew McGinnis, Carmine Bianco, and Brian Leonard here to break down a bunch of games for you guys. And the big one that I'm liking here is Austin Matthews playing against his former coach in New Jersey, taking on the New Jersey Devils. We'll have some props, some best bets, some promotions, and all kinds of great stuff. But before we jump into the games, Carm, we'll go to you, my friend. How are you? How was your night last night? And what are the rest of the games you picked for us today?
How was my last night? Split out in hockey. Detroit as a dog gets it done in a shootout with Sebastian Cossa in goal. And first NHL goalie, Andrew, to get his first win in the NHL in a shootout. So there you go. There's a stat. Chat, one that you can use later on. Dallas Cowboys, they found another way to lose. That kind of mushed my night overall. The New York Rangers, I talked to Brian before the show. They just look absolutely slow on the ice. Not sure what's wrong with that team, but we'll discuss it later. But yes, we got the Toronto Maple Leafs and New Jersey Devils that we're going to kick it off with. It's a kind of a Canadian versus U.S. theme here today. Calgary versus Nashville is the second game. Your prop playbook, where you're going to give us some free play winners. And then we're going to finish it off with Tampa and Edmonton. Some best bets on the show and some
scheduling standpoint. The visitors had the last 2 days off after back-to-back losses to Washington and Pittsburgh. And Toronto's now dropped 6 of 9 lately on the road. Jersey's in the middle of 5 straight games at home, coming off a shutout loss to the Avalanche. I like the New Jersey side here. I think the line is fair. I was expecting something a little bit higher, so as long as I can lay this current number, New Jersey. Toronto's been just so inconsistent. Just can't trust them on a regular basis.
Brian, I tend to agree with you on this one because I like New Jersey as well too. Obviously, they started their season off in Prague against the Buffalo Sabres, played a couple games out there, had the long travel back to the U.S., and then had to play the Leafs in their first game on North American soil, and the Leafs went in and beat them 4-2 in that game. So a little bit of, I don't want to call it rapid revenge because that game was 2 months ago, and we're into December now, exactly 2 months later, and they're playing them. But I do like the Devils right now. The Leafs, it's tough to figure this team out. They're playing extremely well at home, and I talked about that. And then they hit the road and they lose a couple games on the road, most recently in Pittsburgh, I believe. I'm going to take the Devils here. I'm going to lay the minus 135. And then go first thoughts on this one. Andrew, I'm going to give you a completely meaningless stat that does not apply to this game, but applies to the New Jersey Devils in a way. Something you might want to mark down for later on. New Jersey, when playing a Canadian team, but in Canada, have won 17 of the last 21 times. They're 17-4 on Canadian soil, their last 21 games. Unfortunately, this game is being played in the swamp. Who are you taking in this one?
So, guys, a lot of kind of my usual handicapping stuff tells me to take the New Jersey Devils here as well. And I know some people might tell me this shouldn't be the only reason to keep me off, but we look at the inconsistency, as Brian talked about with this Leafs team, right? But I don't really want to go against them after they've lost 2 in a row. And I know that isn't just a real handicap here, but at the end of the day, this is a team that doesn't often lose 3 games in a row. And that does a little bit worry me here. But one thing that Carm said that really sticks out to me, despite losing a couple games at home here, the Maple Leafs are a much different team on the road versus at home. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that despite this team getting much better with goaltending this season, both number 1 and number 2, adding defensemen in the offseason, playing much better defensive hockey. Guys, I'm here to say that I still don't think they're a deep forward group. If you look every single night, who are the guys that score all the goals for them? Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, John Tavares. It seems like most of the games, it's the same old crew scoring all the goals. It's very rare for a bottom 6 guy to score a goal for the Maple Leafs. when your top six is as good as the Maple Leafs top six is, a lot of times that isn't really much of a worry. So I get that completely. But I think that when you're at home, you get the matchups that you want. You get the last change, and that's beneficial compared to a lot of other sports. The NHL and hockey in general is one of those sports where you actually do get an advantage by being the home team. And so New Jersey here, again, and I think it's kind of one of those things here, guys, that I still do believe there's going to be some extra jump for the New Jersey Devils wanting to get the win for Sheldon Keefe. I know some people won't say this is a factor, but it is the team he coached for many years. That is the team that fired him when he was the coach of the Maple Leafs. And when you take a look overall at this team and the last time they played the New Jersey Devils, Austin Matthews didn't even have a goal. He didn't have he had only one shot on goal. So I do lean towards the New Jersey Devils team here. I want to take them in the first period on the money line. I do think they'll get off to a really good start. I think the last change will really benefit them. But I didn't mention this in my prop segment, or didn't have this ready to talk about in the prop segment. But I do think that Austin Matthews will have himself a night. I talked about how top heavy this Leafs team has been. Just one shot on goal last time that Austin Matthews played against the Devils. No goals for him, no assists. I do think he'll be a lot more active. But I like this Devils team, and I like how they've been performing. And I honestly just think they've been a hell of a lot more consistent, and I can read what they're going to do at home. And Carm, you talked last year about their first periods at home, that angle that you were riding for quite some time now. I'm not sure how much that's changed or if you followed it this year, but despite some, recent gains where the Leafs struggled at home, I'm still with you that they're a much better home team than road team. And I think a lot of it has to do with matchup purposes. So I lean towards the Devils side. I want to bet them early and often, but I do think that whether it's shots on goal or whether it's goals, Austin Matthews will get going in this one as well from a prop perspective against the Devils. What do you think here, Carm?
Yeah. Yeah, Andrew, I agree with you. Like they're the number one team in the Eastern Conference at home record-wise, and yet on the road they're number 12. That tells you a lot about their splits. And you look at it, and they lost their last game at home. That one came against Washington, and they played a really good game but still lost to Washington in that game 3-1. Had numerous chances, just couldn't get the puck in the net. Great game by the Caps goaltending in that one and their defense as a whole. And then they hit the road and they play an absolute abysmal one in Pittsburgh on Saturday night, where both teams run the second of a back-to-back, and the Leafs just did not look good in that. And it's like they look so good at home, they look so terrible away. The funny thing about that game, Andrew, is if you were a totals better and you had the over, like go to church, make a donation, because the Penguins get 2 empty net goals with 40 seconds left, I believe, to make that final score 5-2. And that game was part of the 6 and 60, which I will mention. 6 and 60 went 5-0 and 1. The one push was on the Washington Montreal Canadiens over 6. And that game was 4-2, and they pulled their goalie with 3.5 minutes left and couldn't get a goal in that game, or we could have had a perfect 6-0. My friend sent me a ticket, so he played the 6 and 60, put $100 on it, Andrew, and the odds came out to plus 2507, so 25-1. He stood to make $2,500. With the Montreal game pushing, it reverted back to 5, and the over 6 was plus 105, so it reverted back to 5, and he got 1207 on his money. So he made $1,200 off a $100 bet. So I'm pretty happy for him. But we almost had a sweep of the 6 and 60, and we'll see if we can do it again. The 6 and 60 this week will be on Thursday, as there is no Friday show. With that said, speaking of teams that continuously are getting swept, Nashville Predators aren't playing very well, Brian. Minus 165. I am seeing the price and some money coming in this morning on the Nashville Predators. They're at minus 180. I'm seeing on the WagerTalk free live lines. Calgary plus 140. Expecting Saros and Vidar to be the goalies in this one. How are you playing it, Brian? You're muted. Bryan will be with us shortly.
Sorry about that. The cat's been going crazy, and I'm trying to avoid it. But yeah, if you were a guy who plays spots, Nashville has crushed you this season. How many times have they had a situation where you know they're going to go full out and they don't win the game? That's the most frustrating thing. And it's gotten to the point, and I have lost on Nashville probably 3 times this year doing that. It's gotten to the point now where, I hate to put anybody on a not play list, but Nashville's got to be one you've really got to love that game before you can back them. They have not played well. I'm taking a look at both teams when it comes to the expected goals, 5-on-5. Calgary 47.57, Nashville 48.05. You've got the Flames with a plus 17 net goal advantage on the season, with the Preds having played 2 more road games. We got 2 desperate teams in this game. Calgary has dropped 11 or 12 on the road. Nashville has lost 7 straight overall. Neither team has put up any offense. I'm going to play the first period under 1.5. You're going to get it basically in a pick 'em situation. Even money minus 105. That's it, like that. It's taking some money overnight. It opened at 6 minus 130. Now I'm seeing basically just 5.5s out there now. So a lot of people are on that. When you got 2 teams as desperate as these 2 squads are, this has got to be the most tightly contested ice time these 2 teams have played all season. It's going to take them a long time. Usually once one team scores, and if that same team scores again, you get 2-0, then it kind of opens up a little bit. I don't think we're ever going to see a 2-goal lead in this game, so I'm going to play the first period under the 1.5, and then take a look at this one on the show.
Well, Bryan, I mean, that's who they are at their identity. And I think that at this point, with the way that their offense is struggling, are they going to be able to be anything else but that type of team? That's what we have to ask ourselves, really. As you mentioned, with the way that the offense has struggled, the way that this team, and I love the way you said about spot plays, because it's so true. There's so many teams that could be in a great spot, that could be desperate, that could be rested. There could be all these particular situations that work out well for them, but then the team doesn't show up. And I keep on saying this, but if you're Tampa Bay or if you're Vegas right now and you're looking and saying, wow, we didn't sign back Marchessault, we didn't sign back Stamkos, it's a cold, hard business, but you're going to be feeling pretty good as a management core looking at things. The craziest thing I find is that Nashville lost 5 straight games by the exact score of 3-2. And then they go ahead and give up 3 goals to the Canadians. I mean, their magic number against them is 3, meaning that most games that they win, they have to score 3 or 4 to win them. But their production as far as their goal scoring has been very disappointing. When I look at this team, though, I think that people always talk about fading a team after a road trip. And the funny thing is, it wasn't a massive East Coast road trip. It was kind of a shorter one for them. Just a 3-game set: Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, then back home to Nashville. This is one of those ones. Bryan's looking at the first period under 1.5. I'm going to look towards Nashville first period on the money line. And, we'll see if they can give us a really good effort. And, Bryan talked about how desperate they've been for so many times and so many spot plays here. But the fact is, I love the fact that there's a unsuccessful road trip and there's a successful road trip. I am more inclined to fade a team coming off a successful road trip than I am to fade a team coming off a very unsuccessful and disappointing road trip. And despite the numbers starting to kind of balance out here, Carm, when I look at the expected goals saved above expected and all the expected goals against stats, I still, whenever I saw Calgary winning games early in the year, I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying it one bit. I just did not believe in this Calgary Flames team. I thought that they were relying on a couple players offensively. They were getting good goaltending from both Wolf and Vladar. But that production and that goaltending and defense has started to slip over the last handful of games. And despite Nashville not proving they're a good team, they're better than what they've shown. We'll see if they can get it done in the first period, but that's my play. Nashville first period to at least win the first 20 minutes for us, Carm. What do you think? It's a very weird game, as you talked about there, Carm, because you got a team that had a ton of expectations going into the year, a Calgary team that was overachieving to start the year, but they've kind of leveled out. But I mean, as you said out the intro, Carm, about this game, Nashville is taking some money right now off this East Coast road trip. They really are.
They are, and Andrew, I can see points on why they're taking it. A couple days off since finishing off their road trip, and it wasn't a West Coast. Finished on the East Coast, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto games in which they lost all three of them. They were competitive, but they're just not scoring goals. They scored 3 goals in those final 3 games. This is a team that's lost 7 games. I get it. It is tough to put any type of money on it, but you look at yesterday's, the Sabres and Detroit game, and those were 2 teams that were a combined 0-11 their last 11 games. So, and we somehow eked out a plus money team on that one. I'm going to take the Preds in regulation because as bad as the start of their season was, and as bad as this losing streak has been for this team, I still don't have any high hopes for this Calgary team. I don't believe they're going to make the playoffs. And the Preds, at the very least, after starting miserably at home, have started to play better at home. They are 5-2-2 their last 9 games at home. The last couple of games were OT losses to Tampa Bay and I think Philadelphia. And Philadelphia in those ones. And wins over the Winnipeg Jets, who I do think are a very good team. A win over the Colorado Avalanche, who I do think are a very good team. So they've proven that they can beat some good teams. They just have not put a streak together. I'm not saying they're putting one together tonight, but I do believe that they get the win. I'm not going to lay the minus 170, minus 180. I'm going to take them to win this one in regulation time. So I'll lay the minus 110 with the Preds in reg tonight. And with that said, Andrew, I'm going to pronounce it correctly now. It is time for Andrew's prop playbook. So give us some prop play winners, Andrew.
Thank you, Carm, and looking forward to hopefully getting on another big streak as we've been either 500 or we've been swinging a miss with some of these props. So I'm going back to some of my old favorites here with the prop segment today, and we've got just 2 that we're looking at, but there's one that I really like here, and it's Travis Konechny. And I talked yesterday on the show about taking a guy to get an assist versus taking a guy to get a point overall. And you take a look at the numbers right now, it's just so much different to take a guy, like yesterday, Lane Hudson on the prop show talked about how he was minus 110, 115, and we were able to get him plus 106. Well, Travis Konechny, 7 straight games for him. On the road, he has an assist, and it's plus 110. This is a very good matchup, I believe, for Travis Konechny today. This is a team, I think, that will take advantage of a sloppy defensive game, and he got called out by his head coach, John Tortorella. And when any player gets called out by their head coach, you need to be able to respond, but especially if you get called out by John Tortorella, you know that you have to put on a show. You have to perform at a high level the next game. And for me, Travis Konechny has not been as much of a goal scorer lately as he has been more of a playmaker. So we're going to look towards Travis Konechny over on his assist number against the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets have been playing some decent hockey as of late, but they still give up a ton of chances. One of the worst teams defensively in the league. Should be some goals in that game, and hopefully Travis Konechny gets us an assist. Remember, guys, not a point, but an assist here. All right, we're going to go with another old reliable from the Carolina Hurricanes. Let's rock with Seth Jarvis over on his number here. He has been unbelievable, and when I take a look at some of these numbers here for Seth Jarvis, over 2.5 shots on goal. It's only minus 130. But in this spot here, he has been really good at home. And this year, I've really been focusing on road versus home splits. 5 straight games for him at home. He's gotten the job done. And again, I keep on talking about it, getting the last change, getting those matchups, being able to set yourself up with these good opportunities and the weaker line pairings is really advantageous for a team like Carolina. And oh yeah, they're playing the San Jose Sharks. And although San Jose's been getting a lot better, they're still giving up a ton of shots in every single game that they play in. Seth Jarvis, over 2.5 shots on goal, -130 is our favorite shot play for the night. Guys, big play going tonight at WagerTalk.com. 9-2 on those big plays this year. You guys can get that, or you can join me for 7 days. I got this promo code extended for today, net49, net49, $7 a day for an NHL 7-day pass, net49. It's a really good card today. I like a lot of plays, so forget about buying the one play. Use that promo code net49, get 7 days of my NHL, and we'll hopefully get a lot of success, a lot of winners here, and it all starts tonight with this big play. Back to you, Carm.
All right, Andrew, it's a lot to digest there. I wish you the best of luck with these prop plays. Keep kicking ass. You're on Wager Talk yesterday, and pretty much kicked ass with your prop plays there, going perfect 3-0, I believe. So kudos to you on that one. All right, Tampa Bay and Edmonton, the last Canada versus US as far as geographical team location wise type of plays, because we know each team's a mix of all players. Edmonton -150 at home. Looks like it's going to be Skinner. Vasilevsky +130 with Tampa. Brian, I'm going to go to you first for your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, two solid teams in 5-on-5 expected goal share. Lightning 52.19, Oilers 53.16. Tampa owns a +19 goal advantage between the two, as we finally find Edmonton at plus on the goal differential this season. First time all year. They're +3 on the season in goal differential. Took them all the way to middle of December to get there. This is the second game of a 4-game road trip for the visitor. They knocked off Vancouver 4-2 on Sunday. Edmonton's playing solid defense as of late. They've allowed 12 total goals in the last 6 contests. And if we remember back to last year when they got on that hot streak, it was from the defensive area. So this could be a team now in Edmonton that we could be able to ride. Unfortunately, they got so many good offensive players on this team, we rarely find value on them. I wanted to play Edmonton here, but I didn't want to lay more than 135. The line's higher than that right now. If I see a 135, I'll be on Edmonton. If not, I'll sit it out because it's a real good night in the NHL for our clients tonight. So we've got a few other plays, and we'll get to those in a second when we go over best bets. But yeah, it's if 135 or better, put me on Edmonton. Anything higher than that, I'll just sit it out.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm going to keep this simple. I looked at this game, and I don't want to lay $1.50 with Edmonton, and I don't think the price I'm getting with Tampa Bay is good enough to want to take them in Edmonton either. So I looked at the total, and the last 3 games for these teams have had a ton of goals. The Oilers are scoring goals; they're allowing some goals, with the exception of that 1-0 game in Vegas. There's goals. You look at their past 10 games, you look at their past 15 games, there's goals there. We know Tampa Bay can score. We know they have a good special teams. So I just went over 6.5 on this one. It's something that will likely make my card tonight at Wager Talk. But maybe it's just as a client play for 2% play, but I'm going to take the over in this one and go to you for your thoughts.
Carm, I was reading something a couple days ago, and it was just talking about the success that home teams have had this season, and in particular, home favorites, comparison to many years, like where it was kind of starting to level out again. And as far as units earned, road teams were doing well. Last year was actually a good year for road teams, but the home teams have had success. And in particular, it's kind of funny that some of these teams like Edmonton that have the speed and have these superstars like McDavid, when they're able to get the matchups of their choice and get the matchups that they want and get that last change, it's been really, really helpful for them. So, obviously it's baked into the price. We all know that in multiple sports, this stuff gets baked into the number. But We're seeing, of course, the Lightning coming off back-to-back great games. 8-1 dominant win over the San Jose Sharks, and then they cruise to a victory over the Vancouver Canucks. This is a spot where I want the Oilers. I like goals in this one as well. You guys know me. You know where I'm going. Most guys in the comments probably already know where I'm going. We're going with them to get 4. The magic number for us tonight with the Oilers is -120, over 3.5 team goals for them. And you take a look at the last handful of wins that they had here, guys. They beat the Blues 4-2, hit that magic number. They beat the Jackets 6-3. Avalanche 6-4-1. They beat Utah 4-3. They beat the Rangers 6-2. Every single time you play this Oilers team, you can get a much better price by taking the team total. It's very rare they're going to win a game and score 2 or 3 goals and come out on top. The team total is the way to go. There's a handful of teams that I have in my head and I have written down that you want to be betting the team totals with. And I mentioned yesterday on the show, the Buffalo Sabres team total was +110 to get 4 goals. They lose the game 5-4. You bet that team total, you are a winner, and you also get a much better price. So to me, this is a spot where I want the home team. We'll take Edmonton team total over 3.5 at -120. Shop around for the best prices, because some markets, some websites, some sports books will give you a hell of a lot better. Same thing if you're betting draws. Same thing if you're betting regulation bets. Same thing if you're betting first period overs. Some of these more unique bets, even though team totals aren't too unique anymore, you want to shop around, make sure you have multiple outs, make sure you're using the WagerTalk live odds page, Carmine. Especially when you're betting a team total, you definitely want to be getting the best price you possibly can.
Yeah, definitely. 21 goals between these two teams across 2 games last year, 7-4 and 6-4 in those games. So when they get together, they score goals. What happened last year has no effect on what happens this year. It is just a note that I will mention as far as those go. Brian, I'm going to go to you first for what you have up at Wager Talk and give us a show best bet.
Yeah, I've been on a nice run on everything except for Saturday. Bad Saturday. I think everybody pretty much had a tough Saturday. But other than that, we've been on red hot and everything. Put out a 5% play the other day on Boise State over UNLV. Pretty much a wire winner. Yesterday, 5% in college basketball on the Indiana Hoosiers. Pretty much a wild wire winner once they got going in that first half. Led at halftime by 10. It's been going very well. Today I've got 3 plays up in college basketball, 2 plays up in hockey, including a 4% play in the NHL. And I put that 4% play up as our $5 play for today. Customer Appreciation Day, pick up that 4% play for only $5. And if you're looking for additional plays, or if you're looking for more as we head in to the really popular part of the season with the bowl games and all coming up, got a lot of great specials for all of us over at Wager Talk right now. I believe there's one taking us through the end of December for $199, which is a pretty nice deal. So look through all those, find out the best package for you, because we're going to have a lot of plays from here on out through the end of the year with college basketball now getting into conference action. I'm going to take a look at a game, and I think we've got a lot of value in this one. Boston's traveling to Winnipeg. Now, when looking at season so far, Boston's been helped by playing 17 of their 29 games at home. We know how strong Boston's been had been at home over the years. Winnipeg, on the other hand, have played 17 of their 29 games on the road. Yet the Jets own a +40 goal advantage on the season between these two. This is a major step-up game for the Bruins here. They played a very weak schedule as of late. Their game scheduled: Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit twice, Montreal, Pittsburgh, the New York Islanders, Vancouver, Utah, Columbus, and St. Louis. Out of all those teams, the Canucks are the only team that currently have a winning record. They're 14-12. Winnipeg is 20-9. Boston has been able to take advantage of the home games they've had, home game advantages, and playing a very weak schedule. This is a cheap number here for Winnipeg. I know they're not playing as well as they did earlier in the season. This is still a team that's been very good. They're on a 3-6 run, which puts them in a tie with Minnesota for the Central Division lead, despite that great start they had to the season. They're hosting a pretty healthy Vegas team on deck. So this has got to be a must-have game for the host here. I like Winnipeg. I'm very surprised the line is what it is here. Yes, it could lose. It's a favorite I like, though, and I think there's a bargain price. Big step up, as I said, in talent for this Boston team. Give me Winnipeg, and this one is my best bet on the show today.
All right, Brian, just a minute or so to discuss this before I get into my best bet and get Andrew's feedback on this one as well, too. I had two plays yesterday. As I mentioned, Detroit plus 110 against the Sabres. That one got there. I had the Rangers in regulation, minus 145, that didn't get there. I watched that game, and the Rangers just look like a shell of their former selves. I don't know if they're not playing for their coach. I just don't know. It's so many. Offensively, they look completely out of sync. They made two defensive mistakes. Both of them led to the only two goals for the Blackhawks. I don't know what's wrong with this team. It can't be the Shesterkin contract, because he played extremely well. He did score in his own net with his stick for that second goal that made it 2-1. But any thoughts on what's wrong with this Rangers team before we end this show?
Yeah, this takes me back to the Minnesota comment I had earlier, where there's been so many good spots. The Rangers have had a lot of good spots against weaker teams, and they're still not playing well. This is a team with a lot of talent, and it's a lot of veterans on the team, but they just have not lived up to their expectations. It's a squad right now. If the Rangers are playing, I'm finding ways to bet against them. There's something wrong there. We saw this last year with a couple other teams, and we were able to ride them all year long. Earlier this year, Edmonton was in that way. But for the Rangers right now, they're just not playing with a lot of confidence. I have not heard a lot of positives coming out of their sports writers to cover this team. You've got to be able to be very, very positive that they're going to show up in the game to be able to back them, because of the talent they have. They're laying bigger numbers. So I don't want to lay those numbers with the Rangers right now.
Yeah, I thought it had to get worse before it got better. I think losing to a Chicago team yesterday is probably as worse as it gets, because the Blackhawks haven't been really generating any type of scoring in their last 5-6 games, and they're a team that looks like, with a tough schedule, is probably going to lose the next 3 or 4. So that's even more of an embarrassment. The fans, I'll give the fans credit. The fans were booing for good portions of that game last night, the Rangers. So the fans are starting to turn on them as well, too. All right, so I'm going to get back to my best bet before we send it to Andrew for his, and then the closing. Guys, on tomorrow's show, I've put together something for the next 12 days. It is Carmine Bianco's 12 Days of Christmas. You'll have to tune in tomorrow to get it, but just a bunch of promos for the next 12 days for me. You'll see them on tomorrow's show. Our graphics and office is working on it as we speak. My show best bets, I have a couple of Champions League plays up for today, and we'll have an NHL card up for tonight. But I do have a 4% best bet in the NHL, which is part of $5 customer appreciation. Again, you can get that over at WagerTalk. Pretty much every single capper has a $5 play up, so buy as many as you wish, or from your favorite capper. My best bet's going to be the LA Kings. This team is playing extremely well defensively right now. They hit the road off of a good homestand and face a New York Islanders team that, despite I'm still not convinced the Islanders are that great a team. The Kings held Minnesota to a goal in a 4-1 win. They beat the Dallas Stars 3-2. They beat the Winnipeg Jets 4-1. This is a team that's playing some very good hockey at the moment. They're hitting the road It's a 5-game win streak. I expect them to extend that to 6 tonight. Give me the LA Kings minus 130. And Andrew, I'll send it over to you to for a best bet and close out the show.
All right, Carm. Yeah, good show, guys. And hopefully we can all cash some tickets on this busy night tonight in the NHL. I'll remind people again about that promo code I have, net49, that got extended, net49, 7 days of NHL plays for $49. You're saving $30 from my regular NHL 1 week package. And of course, as the guys been mentioning, that $199 deal the rest of December, the faster you take advantage of that deal, the more you will save. So I got a big play tonight in the NHL. Don't miss it. 9-2 this season on those big plays, or 9-2 run on those big plays. So my best bet, this isn't a pretty ugly game, guys. I didn't really pick the most attractive game for my show best bet by any means, but Flyers minus 120 over CBJ, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I like the way this Flyers team's playing right now. They had a tough game against Boston. I thought they deserved better. And Columbus has looked good as of late, but their defense is where, to me, they're going to struggle the most in this game. They've been involved in high-scoring games, and a lot of that's been due to the fact that their defense and goaltending has been letting them down. Short price here on Philly. I'll take them minus 120 to get the job done. All right, guys, take advantage of $5 day over at WagerTalk. Take advantage of all of our best bets. Bryan, Carmine, myself, WagerTalk.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on PuckTime.